we're rarely seeing 2, 3, 4 second wins.
Everything,
and just watching her on track, like you could see from the start, she was the fastest woman on track all weekend. If I was picking a winner from practice, I'd have picked Lockie.
As a fan, it's, of a sport that I think we all feel as if we have ownership in. It feels as if it's been a tough off season. The US scene is reaping the rewards of the effort and investment Nico put in. We were told, it's going to be great. Warner Brothers are going to be bringing more money into the sport. Given up following it on the day because the website's awful.
I won't pay that.
All right, welcome to Downtime Debrief, a podcast mini-series where 3 guys talk about bikes. I'm joined once again by Jonny and Ben, and following on from the success, I'm going to call it, of Downtime Goes Downhill, we wanted to switch things up a bit and open up the chance to talk a bit more about more than just our own racing. Maybe that's World Cups, maybe it's bikes, products that we've been using, or things that we want to try. Pretty much just 3 friends catching up and talking about the thing that they love. With the support of Fox Racing, Wahoo, Continental and Magura, we'll be getting together 4 times throughout the season, although it might be less if it's as difficult to get us all in one place as it was today. And if there's anything you want to hear from us, then hit us up in the comments on YouTube or send us a message somewhere on the internet, and we'll cover those things off. But yeah, we should start with racing, I think. We're getting very close to the start of the World Cup season. We've had a fair bit of pre-season racing on the go. Are we excited for World Cups this year?
Very much so. It feels as if it's been a long time coming. I'm a avid fan of whatever's going on off season as well. So be that team rumours or the team changes once they actually arrive in the beginning of the year.
Yeah, it's felt like a long off season waiting for all that stuff. But the Team Rumours forum over on Vital is a good place to hang out, right?
And I think with the changes to the World Cup, it added an extra element to uncertainty around it all, I think.
Has that made it more exciting for you?
Yes and no. Definitely some like high profile team moves, but I think the uncertainty around it, and I think, I'm obviously not a team owner or manager, but for them, I feel as if it must have just been so hard from, say, this like lack of transparency. How do you run what is essentially a business when you don't know the ins or outs of what's going on? And then as a fan, it's of a sport that I think we all feel as if we have ownership in. It feels as if it's been tough off season. Yeah,
it has for sure. But we see the return of some injured riders though from the off season. It's going to be good. We've got Jackson, Jordan, Ethan, Craig, various riders that have shown a lot of promise but didn't get to perform massively last season. That's going to be cool, Ben, I think, having all them back.
Yeah, it'd be good to see him back. There's been a few injuries in the off season as well, haven't there? Or early season too, which we've had Irish contingent down for
Ronan
down, but he seems like he's back now. Yeah, and ragging it like he usually does.
I saw footage of him in Valnord, I think, and he did not look any slower for 8 weeks off.
Yeah, he was spraying everywhere. We've had some ladies out with injury as well, I think, haven't we? Who we lost at hardline,
Ris van Leuven's out from that pretty horrific hardline injury. I think Ellie Hulzebos was out for a little bit from some kind of race crash in Australia or New Zealand, but I think she's okay. She's back with the team testing, so that's good. Yeah, it's gonna be cool, right? We've got some super fast junior women carrying on from last year, and then it's been fun watching Aletha Ostergaard this off season, right? Both at Downhill Southeast, Winrock, and then Ride Rock Creek for the first Monster Energy Pro Downhill Series. She's been on fire.
She's a name that I don't know who she is.
Okay. Yeah, fair. I think she's been under the radar for quite a lot of people. I first heard the name, I think Nico mentioned her. She's got an older sister, Taylor. They're both super good. And they did really well at the US Open, I think, a couple of years ago. They got on a few people's radars.
American then? Or?
Yeah, US based. Right. And then I think because they were going so well and so were into it, their parents have got a small place over at Windrock now as well. I think Windrock's starting to become a bit of a draw for people to be there, because there's a lot of fast riders and a lot of quality tracks at the part that Aaron and his wife Lauren have kind of now picked up and are adding to bit by bit. But yeah, those two are super fast. And then Aletha, I was lucky enough to be in Windrock for that race, and just watching her on track, like you could see from the start, she was the fastest woman on track all weekend, and like so willing to let the bike get a little bit out of control, and seems to enjoy it. Like I saw her, we were lucky enough to ride with the collective team on a couple of days after the race, and she was following Troy through a section and had like the biggest, oh no, in fact he was following her, and she had the biggest moment, like nearly ended herself in a turn, and just thought it was hilarious. Like I think the kids or the younger riders these days, like they just seem to have this belief in what a bike can do because they've grown up on these really good bikes. I think like they don't seem fazed by getting massively out of control. Whereas for us, I think the era we grew up in, if the bike was out of shape, you were very soon going to be on the deck, I think.
Stash Space Rails is the ultimate way to store your bikes. You can get more bikes into less space. It's really easy to fit, it's really easy to use, get to whatever bike you want exactly when you need it. Downtime viewers get 10% off their entire order by heading to stashproducts.co.uk/downtime and using the code downtime, all in capitals, at the checkout. Upgrade your bike storage today.
It's a different world.
And is she a first year junior?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and she put like over 4 seconds, I think, into, you know, world-class World Cup riders, Miriam Nicoma and Cabarrou at Windrock, and then to Anna as well, Nana Newkirk at Ride Rock Creek. She put a couple of seconds in. So.
And do you think they were riding competitively? It's kind of sort of pre-season still, isn't it?
Yeah, it is pre-season, but I think people are looking to get up to pretty close to race pace, if not race pace. I mean, we're seeing, like you mentioned, we're seeing injuries, right? Which suggests that people are starting to ride pretty quickly. I think, I don't know, I don't think you can ride particularly conservatively either when testing or racing, especially this close to the season. I think the riders know that if they set the bike up at 80-85% speed, they may as well not bother. Like they need to be at least 90, if not 95%, to get the bike set up close to what it's going to experience at a World Cup. Otherwise, all the learnings you get in the off season are kind of invalid, I think.
So what the injuries, do you think they come about from they're not, it's like that balance between that 95% where you're getting enough out of the bike for it to be useful and tipping over into that 100% where mistakes happen? You know, I think almost the entire Common Sail team was injured pre-season at some point. You know, Amory had his finger, Loris shoulder blade.
Dylan was out with something,
broken arm or something. You know, and I think Loic was out with a separated rib or something.
Yeah, Finn's been out.
Dak's out, man.
Dak's out. I saw Dak in Windrock, and he's weight bearing. He's on 2 feet, which is good because he's basically, I think, been laid up for a few months since that crash. It was pretty bad. So he was kind of hobbling and e-biking a bit and getting around. But yeah, I think he feels like he's got a lot of catching up to do, both in life admin that's been missed as a result of it, and like getting back on the horse. But yeah, I think he's key. I get the impression he's fired up to get back, but it's a long road kind of thing. Yeah. So it
must be really tough for all these, just a reference back to it, these athletes who have been out essentially for an entire year. It's, you know, it must be really tough. And I'm impressed when, you know, they come back in their couple of races and they're, you know, it seems as if they've not lost any speed whatsoever. It's really impressive, which you know then comes back to this question I have in my head. It's like, do they need to be doing so much riding for the season? You know?
I don't know. I think everyone feels now that because it's down to such fine margins, like most of the victories are point something of a second, right? We're rarely seeing 2, 3, 4 second wins.
Piron.
Well, apart from Harry Piron, like everyone feels like they're chasing every little tenth. So testing time is becoming like more and more of a focus for people, I think. And then therefore you're riding downhill, you're riding on a proper track, and you're riding 90, 95 plus %. And that pace now, like the bikes are so capable and the tracks have got so much faster, like the average speed's creeping up every year, that the amount of energy in the rider bike package at any point is pretty huge. And as soon as that energy becomes uncontrolled, it hurts. Like I've spoken to a couple of people like close to the sport. They feel like we're going to start seeing potentially quite big injuries. Like when people do go down, there's a good chance that they're going to get hurt because it is getting faster, right? And that's not a criticism necessarily of the tracks, although the tracks, I guess, have got harder, like they've got faster. Some of that is like the nature of the track, but a lot of it is the bikes and the riders. They're getting better every year. Like I've spoken to people at World Cups and they're spending time trying to slow the riders down. Like they're trying to tighten tracks and add in pieces to take some speed off, because it is getting pretty out of hand. But whatever they put in, the riders find a way of like straight lining it or opening it up or making it quick. So it's hard, right? The speeds are super high.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a consideration. I was just kind of mulling it over in my head whether, you know, I feel as if there's way more supported corners than there used to be. And, you know, that allows this kind of like not only carrying, but this generation of speed. And when those situations go, you know, I think that's where you've got all this built up potential energy that just then...
Yeah, that is true. We used to have a lot more, I guess, natural terrain, right? Like
putting some off cambers, that'll slow them down.
Yeah, and like you say, unsupported turns and things where you've got, rather than generating speed out of every turn, you're struggling to maintain speed out of every turn.
Yeah.
Does it look as good on the tally though?
Well, that's the problem. I think it looks good to us, to people that understand it, but I guess that's not really where it's heading, right? Like it feels like the intent from Warner Brothers Discovery is to show mountain biking to a broader audience, which I'm not fundamentally against. Like I think that's a good intention, but to do that, trying to make it exciting for someone that doesn't know how hard it is to ride across a greasy off camber full of roots. Like if you flash back to Leogang World Champs 2020, that lower wood section, like if you were coming to mountain biking and you watched the world's best, in inverted commas, struggling their way down that section, would that have looked good to you? Like it was cool for us to watch because it's like, oh, if these guys are struggling like that, it's going to be hard.
When we appreciate the challenge of what they're trying to do, whereas if you don't have that frame of reference, then you're like, oh my God, these guys are rubbish.
Yeah.
You know?
So I don't know. It's tricky. It's super tricky. I would like to see more variety, maybe. Like maybe we have some venues, and maybe, I mean, we can talk about new venues, but maybe we see some venues join the circuit that are a little more natural and a little less supported, and bike park turns and that kind of stuff. But
I guess we've raced these venues for so long now as well. Those tracks are all well developed. They might have been natural, loose, open, off camber at one point, but now they've been ridden in so much.
Yeah. And to be fair, even if you don't put a berm somewhere, the riders pretty much create one. They're hitting terrain so hard that they make a line down the track that just gets faster and faster. Like it's pretty hard to create something that doesn't burn into just becoming a faster, like a rut or whatever that they'll find support in. They're very, very, very good at getting down a hill fast, and the bikes are just helping them, right? And their physique and everything is coming along with it. Yeah, it's fascinating stuff. Gearboxes this year. Thoughts?
I'm excited. Like it feels as if there's been nothing like new for so long.
Yeah.
You know what's been the most recent new thing? It's like wheel sizes in that kind of scale of things. Yes, we've got these dune mass dampers and what have you, but they're all kind of like small elements. But it seems this is quite a large change, and it's opened up the ability for them to change the way the bike works to a certain extent with less unsprung mass. Yeah.
I can't quite convince myself whether it presents an advantage having a gearbox bike, or whether it's just a different way. Obviously you don't have the rear mech, but I can't convince myself that we're just going to see gearbox bikes swamping the podium every weekend just yet. I don't know. I might be wrong.
What's the main advantage then? Is it the gearing setup, or is it the lower weight, or is it the not needing to turn the cranks to change?
I guess there's a few things. There's like the ability to change gear in that way. You can't knock a mech off, but what happens? I don't know. Do belts run well in the mud? And we've had a lot of muddy World Cups. Don't know how that works.
I think I've heard rumours of people losing belts.
Yeah. They definitely were shedding belts, I think, on a couple of the belt drive bikes at Ludenville last year in the mud. But that was on the more extreme end of muddy races. But then obviously it's a lot quieter, and you've got that weight low down, and like you say, less weight like hanging off the back wheel, so the rear suspension should work better. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it opens opportunities, and if anyone's gonna make something different work, I guess Reece Wilson and that Aon Racing squad, that's gonna be fun to watch.
They just need some decent kit.
Maybe they're holding back. It's quite plain in it to start the season.
Yeah,
I haven't seen their kit.
I don't think they have any to speak of, to be honest.
Okay.
I don't think they've got a huge budget. I get the impression from everything Reece has said that this is like they're doing it on almost the bare minimum, certainly now anyway, and they're sort of speculating that they're doing something good and that the budget will come over the years. Like I feel like
I think they went 1-1-1 at the Scottish round at the weekend, so doing something right.
They are also local riders or not?
I think so.
But yeah, it's going to be super interesting to watch those guys. Who else are we excited to watch this season? There's been a few little moves.
Loris on Commensal.
Yeah, that's a huge one, right?
That is a huge one.
And also the whole Commensal team moving to RockShox suspension will be interesting. They were out again. They were in Windrock testing,
but they were. It wasn't that long ago that they were on RockShox.
True.
So they, I think when Amory did that amazing run at Leger, that was on RockShox. So
was it?
Yeah, I think so.
Interesting.
So it wasn't that long ago.
2018, 19 time, on the old track.
Yeah.
Interesting. And they get the benefits of flight attendant, right? Like, I know teams have been working pretty hard on like dialing in flight attendant stuff in the off season, because they definitely feel there's a benefit, certainly on tracks with like, your Leergangs and Fort Williams with the kind of motorway section type stuff, that there's a real benefit to be had in the speed that you can generate on the landings and stuff there. But
also I think as well with the high pivots, there's a much greater chance to tune the behavior of the bike with the flight attendant and make up for certain aspects that might be like more difficult to get out of that high pivot bike.
Yeah,
with the ability to change the behavior of the suspension.
Yeah, the Trek looks like it's working very well from being trackside. Everyone on that bike looked like the bike was working very, very well. And I know they've got a huge amount of adjustability. I think they can move idler heights or pivot heights, idler size, various other bits and pieces.
So is it generally the same layout as the old last season session, and just more adjustable?
I don't know enough about like you can move a pivot like a millimetre or two and it can have a fairly big effect in some instances. So it would be hard for me to say, I think, but
be interesting to see whether the team kind of like gravitates towards a similar setup or whether they all go in different directions.
Yeah, definitely.
Based on rider preference.
Yeah, and some fast riders on that squad. Lockie's definitely not been hanging about in the off season in New Zealand.
Yeah,
he looked dangerously fast trackside, to the point where if I was picking a winner from practice, I'd have picked Lockie.
Yeah,
I don't know what happened in his race one run, whether it just wasn't clean or what, but you wouldn't. From standing trackside, I wouldn't have said Amory was going to win that Windrock race.
Yeah,
like he built nicely through to the finals, but
nice.
Lockie looked lit.
It's nice to see all these riders actually going and doing these pre-season races. It's been, with the ones in New Zealand. I think there was a Threadbare in Australia, although that maybe was less well attended. But these ones in the States seem to be really drawing a good crop of international riders.
Yeah, I think SRAM having their test camp in Windrock for a couple of weeks definitely helped. There was riders there before and after, like doing setup work there, but that dragged some people over. And then obviously Aaron has a good network, and people know the track there is good quality. And I think having back-to-back weekends as well with Windrock and then the first round at Rock Creek for the Monster Series.
It's good value for money for the investment for the teams. Then they get the testing and then they get to do dry run of races almost for that kind of process of rolling it out before the World Cups, especially with a new team.
Yeah, what are we thinking about the US scene at the minute? It seems to be right place, right time.
Definitely feels like it's on the up and up, doesn't it, really? There's a buzz about it. I've got some riders coming through. I suppose it's the Acer effect has got to be
a little bit
generating quite a lot of interest.
I think a lot of it's come from like Luca, Nico, Dakota, Aaron, like those riders have grown the scene. And now everyone that's in that scene is even more excited because they know they've got riders like Asa coming through that 100% can challenge at the very top of it. But I think they've done a really good job on the coverage as well. Like Downhill Southeast, you can watch a replay of the race the next day, which is actually pretty good with commentary and everything. Same with Windrock. Like I think it was out within 24 hours that there was an online like broadcast, effectively all free on YouTube, which is kind of cool, right? Like
that's really
Ace
cool
to be able to watch basically a mini World Cup before the season starts. It's insane, right? I think they've basically got a load of young people on the hill that were out filming their mates and sort of got them on board. I think they had 16 cameras on the track at Windrock, and then they've got this like super slick process where they get all the footage off the guys, like get it onto a drive so that people can jump in and start doing the edit, and then the edits get sent off to the commentary team to do the voiceover commentary, and then it comes back and gets put in. And throughout the weekend, there's guys like roaming around the pits doing rider interviews and everything with like super pro kit. Like it's very cool to see, like effectively, certainly Downhill Southeast, like that's a local race, like the Pierce series for that part of America, you know?
It's impressive. I think the US scene is reaping the rewards of the effort and investment Nico put in like 5 to 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And, everyone's benefiting from that scene just improving. And then this shows that you can do these things without it. I don't know what their budget is, but without
can't imagine it being big, yeah.
But, that you can kind of produce this kind of show. And this comes back to, I guess, like EDR as well. It's like, isn't this a good model for that? It's like, not hugely expensive, more people on the hill, a really good replay the day after, and where they fish out the story of the race. It's too hard to, I've given up following it on the day because the website's awful and it's just impossible to kind of follow along.
Yeah.
And then the next day there's nothing to really watch, so you'd lose track of it. Whereas this is like, actually, this is a really good model.
And it's done well. Like I was looking at the numbers on YouTube, because obviously you can see what kind of views these things are getting, and they're getting pretty solid traffic for a race, for us on the other side of the planet. Like I don't remember since Norba really being particularly interested in US racing.
No, there was some West Coast ones, pro GRTs, I think, but I think they kind of like, I don't know whether they died a death or I just don't know
the backstory on that, but
this East Coast scene seems to be really, exciting. We're in the UK and we're interested in what's going on.
Yeah,
international riders are going. It looks cool.
And Clay's gone all in. Clay Harper, who runs the Monster Pro Series, has definitely gone all in. Like he's committed to making this a big race series and bringing it back to the Norba days, I think, where you could make a good living being a US based rider, because people did that, right? Like even I think riders like Minar and stuff didn't necessarily do all the World Cups because they do a full Norba series.
They prioritize Norba over if there was a clash.
Yeah.
So that goes to, it shows how much it was worth. Wasn't I think Asa mentioned on your last podcast that there was a big purse as well for.
Yeah, I think there's 17.5 grand up for the Rock Creek event.
Wow.
US, which is solid prize purse. Yeah, no, and everyone out there seems excited. Like it's a super good turnout. They had 400 riders, I think, at Windrock, which is
that's amazing.
Pretty decent, I would say. Especially like when you speak to riders and you see how far they've travelled. Like the level of commitment is beyond anything you comprehend in the UK. Like riders that have travelled like for more than a day, if not 2 days, to get to this race, which is really cool.
They've got a different frame of reference for what's far and what's close.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
I remember, you speak to somebody in Australia or you speak to somebody in the US and you say, I had to travel like 2.5, 3 hours for a race. And they're like, oh, so local then.
Yeah, exactly. How are you feeling about Enduro, Ben? Where are you at on that?
It's interesting because we've obviously been looking out for races to enter.
Yeah.
And last night, Ardmore's, which is like the sister event of Hard Rock.
Yeah. Huge event in the UK. Yeah.
Ardmore's probably not as big a draw as Hard Rock, but entries went live for that. And a year ago, you had to be there with 5 minutes, first 5 minutes and it was sold out.
Yeah.
And I know there were still entries at like 10, 11 o'clock last night. So the demand seems to have dropped off a little bit, which I don't know whether that's like the economic situation in the UK or whether it's a bubble that's burst, or I don't know. It seems...
Considering we've lost a couple of series of enduro racing in the UK as well, so there are less events to enter, like that sort of surprises me that maybe the demand's not as strong as it was.
But as a like a racing format, like competitive professional racing format, it's on the ropes, really, isn't it?
It looks
you
like
don't hear good stuff about it.
Yeah, I know a decent chunk of teams or brand level teams won't be there this year, which is obviously concerning. Whether this is like the worst it gets and it starts to recover, I don't know. Like, I think it's cool. There was an announcement that they're bringing back 2-day racing, which I think is really good. And I was listening to, I think it was Jesse Melamed talking about it, and he'd been speaking to Chris Ball, and there is a desire and an intent to bring back more racing outside of Europe and to make this much more global again. Yeah, I think COVID was a bit of a point at which like most of the smaller venue operators haven't kind of come back yet, and hopefully we'll see more foreign travel for enduro and more like 2-day epics, which would be good. I think, like, kind of get back to what it was, and then maybe if the industry is in a better spot and there's a bit more money in the brands, then that would help. I think also downhill got a lot more expensive, right? We've gone up in the number of rounds, and also most of the bigger teams have got a lot bigger. And I think maybe we underestimate the amount of additional cost to go up a few rounds. Like, I think some teams have even been talking about it's too much for some of the staff as well. Like, they need extra staff so that they can like tag out, basically. Because the riders, okay, it's a lot of races for the riders, but the riders have kind of got one thing to do. Sounds harsh, but like that's their thing. Whereas for all the support staff, it's maybe a bit more arduous on them. And then to do it for 11 weeks of the year with all the travel in between. And I think some of the travel logistics themselves are pretty hard to get from race to race in the time frame. Like, they need extra drivers to actually legally be able to get from one venue to the next without going over taco times and stuff. Like, I think once you delve into it, like, the downhill teams needed more money. So it was kind of, that's where the focus has been, right? It's the product that's on live broadcast. And
well, yeah. And, you know, if you've been to sponsors and, you know, they've committed funds, and then all of a sudden, you know, the rules change and the sponsors are like, well, we actually don't have any more money to give you.
Which is the case in the industry right now. A lot of brands don't have like money floating around, I think.
No, so it's really hard. And then, you know, what I guess as the person looking in, you know, we were told, oh, it's going to be great. Warner Brothers are going to be bringing more money into the sport, and it feels at the moment with moving on to the broadcast packages that we're the money that's being brought into the sport.
I'm not sure if our money's finding it to the sport, though.
I wish it was, but you know, all of a sudden we've gone from Discovery paying, or the Discovery app paying, I don't know what it was, like £5-6 to, they're saying like £30 a month now.
I think the first year it was like, I feel like it was about 38 quid or something for the year on GCM Plus. Then it was like £6 or £7 a month last year. And now in the UK and Ireland, £31 a month. Yeah, how do you feel about that? My personal take on it is that, I don't know, I like, if you love sport and you want to sit at home all day and watch sport, maybe £31 a month is a value that you can get on board with. Even at that, I would still personally struggle. That feels way too much. But like, as riders, as cyclists, I think most of the time we're cycling and doing the sport we love, and then we occasionally want to watch it, if that makes sense. So like, if all you want to watch is the Downhill World Cup and nothing else, £31 a month, even if you only pay for the months that we have racing on, is like, it's insane.
That's a weekend away. You know, this should be, you know, the cost of a couple of coffees a month.
Yeah, fair.
It's fair.
Yeah.
But when we're looking at it like that, it's an astronomical sum of money. It's, you know, multiple tires for your bike, weekend away.
Yeah.
Multiple uplifts. It's I don't know.
The problem, the way I look at it is that we've as an industry, we talk about like diversity and inclusion and all this, and we say like to be able to be something, you have to be able to see that something, and they use that kind of language, I guess, especially trying to grow the women's side of things, which is like I'm super on board with. And you need these role models, and you need for women to be able to see other women riding bikes. Like surely by putting this thing behind a paywall of that scale, we're giving way less people the opportunity to see this thing and therefore to want to be this thing. I don't know. But then the flip side argument is going to be that it's going to be in front of more eyes because so many people have this package. But I don't know. I can't get my head around it.
I think that's the argument, isn't it? If we want to grow the sport, if we want more people to see our sport, it has to be put somewhere where non-cyclists will see it.
Yeah.
You know, if someone wants us to watch women's rugby as cyclists, that's not going to happen by us just paying a small fee to watch just the mountain biking.
Yeah,
you have to have those, you know, accessibility to a bigger audience, which will mean, you know, big outside industry sponsors, which everyone seems to want, might get more interested if more people are seeing it.
Yeah.
I won't pay that. I don't particularly agree with it, but I can see why they might be taking that route from like a business.
Does that stop you watching the Mountain Bike World Cup then? How will you consume it?
I'm not going to be investing £31 a month to watch it. So I don't know. Club together with your mates, watch the highlights, suck it up and disengage from that a little bit, I suppose. You can consume other media around it.
Yeah, you can, I guess.
But it is a bit galling, really.
Yeah, it does feel a bit rough considering the sport's grown to where it is. Like my take was that the sport has grown based on like all the sponsorship so far has been bike industry pretty much. And therefore that's all the money that we've put, like the sport have put in, right? We're the ones buying the bike stuff.
Yeah. And
then suddenly there's this barrier put in front of it, like, oh, you can't watch it anymore, which feels kind of rubbish.
Yeah, it is. I think it is galling. And I think we all have this vested interest in this sport because it's all things to all people. It's, you know, this isn't a team sport where it's about, you know, the playing the match, which is the game. We can go out riding our bikes and it's not a race. We can, you know, it's for many people, it's part of our mental health too. It's our physical health. It's our community. It's all things, or, you know, for some of us, it's nerding out on the bikes and the equipment. For others, it's watching the racing. For, you know, for some people, they've got no interest in racing. It's trekking. So it's this sport that ticks so many boxes. And so we all have this vested interest in this sport. And when something like this happens, you know, I'm sitting here stewing like, you know, it's not fair. It doesn't feel fair, I guess.
Agree.
And, that, you know, maybe if, you know, these teams were rocking up with all these great sponsors, you know, and it's attracted this money in, it's like, great. But, it's, you know, then it's like, oh, so we're having to, you know, we're having to subsidize this sport now. It just feels hard.
I'm not sure that we're subsidizing it, but
no, I know what you mean. That's how it feels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what do we get out of this? Really, like we want this. When we say we want the sport to grow, and we're talking about downhill here, because this is what we're the topic. What does that mean? And what, as a rider, what do we get out of that? We've got, so far, I suppose we've got better coverage, arguably. More
depends who you speak to on the internet.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Elements are certainly better, yeah.
I'm struggling to get beyond that, really, from someone sitting on the couch outside the industry point of view.
The app, so far, the apps to watch it in have been slightly more robust and easier to use than Red Bull TV was, but that's a minor niggle. Beyond that, so far, not seen much, but we've got another 5 years of this contract, and I guess at some point, in theory, the external money starts to come in, but as of yet, I think I'm just trying to think of like external sponsorship. Reese has got a camper van company sponsoring Aon. Don't know how much is coming from them, but it's not Formula One levels of outside support, is it? I don't know how long that takes to come. I mean, I guess what do you get? You get to watch loads of other sport on TNT if you buy the package, but do you want to watch any of it? I mean, I don't. No offense to the other sports, but it's just not how I spend my time.
No. I guess at the end of the day, we want to see, a cool race, and we're interested in not just who wins, but how they won and the story that unfolded. So, maybe it is the highlights package, or maybe it is some guy who's, put together a story of the race or something.
Like Cathro does, or whatever.
Exactly. It's like maybe that's where it goes for the casual viewer.
Yeah.
Maybe it's enough to look online and see what the results were.
But that's less eyes on all of that advertising dollars, right?
It is. But if you're if you're making it hard for me to watch, to put that advertising in front of me, I'm not gonna,
yeah,
not gonna watch.
Yeah. Will you pay? You're like a devout.
I am, but I
really don't want to.
I'm angry about it. So,
But they don't want us to watch it. We already are part of this. They want
we're not
the non-cyclists.
We're not the new audience. Yeah,
but
they're not catering towards us.
Do they not want us to watch it like that? That would be a shame if that was really the case.
I'm sure they want us to.
Yeah, but they don't care.
Well, they're not the people we're not their target.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'd love to be all the powers that be. Somebody out there has like, oh, you know what we'll do? We'll just chuck it in this package. That's fine. It's fine. It goes out to enough people, and then that decision kind of has then filtered down to like the part of Warner Brothers Discovery, who is our Warner Brothers Discovery.
Yeah, like the Crystal element of it.
Crystal, whatever that kind of is. And do they sit there and go, this isn't ideal? Can we do anything about it? Or do they be like, we don't care? Or, there's this, and this comes back to the lack of communication from that side to everybody. And
but equally, they can't put out a statement that says, we didn't really want this, guys.
No, I know.
Do you know what I mean? It's so hard, isn't it?
Yeah, they're stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
It's like, we're actually fighting your corner. There will be something. They probably couldn't even say that. But
no, I don't think they could. They've got to toe the line, right? As with any big corporation, that's the challenge. Yeah, it's frustrating.
Corporations, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Anyway, despite all of the shenanigans going on, I'm still excited for the racing. I just might not be watching it live.
Yeah, fair. Are we excited about some of the structural changes? I think that's all broadly pretty good.
I think it's moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how this format goes. The lack of protection, I think, is going to be interesting because maybe that might be enough of an element to calm down some of the riding from some people. Other people, maybe not. But if you are serious about the overall, then I think you've got to be finishing all the races. Because there's no throwaway round, is there?
I don't think so.
That's how it used to be. Yeah. But, I think it was 8 rounds, and it was your best 7.
Yeah,
it was your best 6 results plus the final.
I think it's
everything,
and obviously the teams want the points, right? Because from this year onwards, the team owns the points, not the riders, effectively.
What's the point situation for the qualification rounds? Do you know?
Well, I haven't looked at that level of detail. Don't know. I assume because not everyone will do the last chance qualifier, so I don't know whether there are.
Maybe it's just like it'll just be scaled from
like the top 30 or whatever that go into finals will get some points from getting to the final sort of thing. I don't know. I haven't looked at that, but that'd be interesting. And bigger teams, Ben, right? Which I think that's a good thing, right? We've got squads that are being incentivized to put more people on. Were you not bothered?
You put me on the spot. Bigger squads. I hadn't really thought about that. I was thinking there's more there's more races. I mean, that is something that we're getting more racing, basically. And the format changes have tightened that down, so it's not the ridiculous amount of track time that there was before, in theory, at least. We'll see what happens. Bigger squads. I don't know, because you've still got the massive squads, haven't you? But then you've got Specialized who are running the same squad size as last year. I think.
I guess they've got Gen S as well. I don't think they have a female.
Is that the same team though for points or?
Good question.
Yeah.
I think they like if someone gets injured, they can draft in
Okay, to cover.
I think,
Yeah.
from those development teams. So I think there's an incentive for riders to have development teams. But
Yeah, I don't know.
Not bothered.
Squad size. I'm excited about all the juniors coming up. We've talked about the junior women, but the junior boys as well.
yeah, there's more coming.
It seems like that's where the talent comes from these days. Like a challenger comes up from the junior ranks, a serious challenger is coming up from the junior ranks every year or two, basically.
Yeah, because a year ago it would have looked like Jackson and Jordan were going to walk away with everything. And now you're like, they've only got another year and Ace's going to be like...
Yeah, Alron brothers coming.
Exactly.
Loads of others.
Yeah,
So,
and there's more, I think, coming in the next year or two that are like...
And you don't
as
know,
fast
do
or
you?
faster.
Yeah, they just pop up.
Yeah, you're like, oh, okay.
Oh yeah, this guy's, put in the fastest time of the day.
The bar just gets raised
Yeah.
every year, which is super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so not long to wait. We'll be off to the races soon, I think, a few more weeks. See how many riders make it in uninjured. That'd be interesting. But, they've got to try and stay healthy for a whole season. As you pointed out, like, I don't think you can really afford to have too many bad races if you want an overall.
This then comes down to the preparation, the racecraft, how you're going to go about the racing. And it's the guys who can, be consistent. And maybe we'll get a winner of the overall who just doesn't win a race,
Which would be a shame, but yeah.
But, that's the way.
Hopefully the point structure stacked, so that's hard. But yeah, it's going to be good. Everyone's excited for it, I'm sure.